Hi everyone, thank you for coming back to my channel. Today I would like to discuss Sirius the dark star with you guys and how it relates to Satan's Lucifer, the brightest star. Okay, let's get started. Sirius. This is the Sirius star system. Canis Major. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky with a visual apparent magnitude of -1.46. It is almost twice as bright as Canopus, the next brightest star. So that's why Sirius could be representing Satan, Lucifer, because he thought he is the light bearer, the morning star, the brightest star of the universe. So that's why so many movies and TV shows, etc., always have some kind of relationship between Sirius and the movie. And also, Apple for iPhone, Sirius, and the XM radio station, Sirius, etc. So they use that to worship Lucifer. The name Sirius is derived from the ancient Greek Sirius, glowing or sculpture. The star has the Bayer designation Alpha Canis Majoris. What the naked eye perceives as a single star is actually a binary star system, consisting of a white main sequence star of spectral type A1V, termed Sirius A, and a faint white dwarf companion of spectral type DA2, termed Sirius B. The distance separating Sirius A from its companion varies between 8.1 and 31.5 AU. Sirius appears bright because of both its intrinsic luminosity and its proximity to Earth. At a distance of 2.6 parsecs, the Sirius system is one of the Earth's near neighbors. Sirius A is about twice as massive as the Sun and has an absolute visual magnitude of 1.42. It is 25 times more luminous than the Sun, but has a significantly lower luminosity than other bright stars such as Canopus or Hydro. The system is between 200 and 300 million years old. It was originally composed of two bright bluish stars. The more massive of these, Sirius B, consumed its resources and became a red giant before shedding its outer layers and collapsing into its current state as a white dwarf around 120 million years ago. Sirius can be seen from almost every inhabited region of the Earth's surface. Those living north of 73.284 degrees cannot see it, and in the northern hemisphere is known as a vertex of the winter triangle. The best time of year to view it is around January 1st, when it reaches the meridian at midnight. Under the right conditions, Sirius can be observed in daylight with the naked eye. Ideally, the sky must be very clear, with the observer at a high altitude, the star passing overhead and the sun low down on the horizon. Sirius is also known colloquially as the dark star. Notice that dark, if you reverse it, is God, G-O-D. As the dark star, reflecting its prominence in its constellation, Canis Major, which means big dog. The heliacal rising of Sirius marked the flooding of the Nile in ancient Egypt. and the dark days of summer for the ancient Greeks, while to the Polynesians it marked winter. The Dogon and the Lomos and Sirius B. In Mali, West Africa, lives a tribe of people called the Dogon. The Dogon are believed to be of Egyptian descent, and their astronomical lore goes back thousands of years to 3200 BC. According to their traditions, the star Sirius has a companion star which is invisible to the human eye. This companion star has a 50-year elliptical orbit around the visible Sirius and is extremely heavy. It also rotates on its axis. The Dogon stories explain that also. According to their oral traditions, a race people from the Sirius system called the Nomos visited Earth thousands of years ago. The Nomos were ugly, amphibious beings that resembled mermen and mermaids. They also appear in Babylonian, Akkadian, and Sumerian myths. The Egyptian goddess Isis, who is sometimes depicted as a mermaid, is also linked with the star Sirius. The Nomos, according to the Dogon legend, lived on a planet that orbits another star in the Sirius system. They landed on Earth in an ark that made a spinning descent to the ground with great noise and wind. It was the Nomos that gave the Dogon the knowledge of Sirius B. Locating Sirius in the winter sky, follow an imaginary line through Orion's belt. This is Orion's belt, Sirius Canis Major. This is a possibly considering Sirius B's existence was suspected as early as 1844, and seen was through a telescope in 1862. It doesn't seem to explain a 400-year-old Dogon artifact that apparently depicts the Sirius configuration nor the ceremonies held by the Dogon since the 13th century to celebrate the cycle of Sirius A and B. It also doesn't explain how the Dogons knew about the super density of Sirius B, a fact only discovered a few years before the anthropologists recorded the Dogon stories. History and methodology. Historically, many cultures have attached special significance to Sirius. Sirius, known in ancient Egypt as Sothis or Sothis, is recorded in the earliest astronomical records. The hieroglyph for Sothis features a star and triangle. During the era of the Middle Kingdom, Egyptians based their calendar on the heliacal rising of Sirius, namely the day it becomes visible just before sunrise after moving far enough away from the glare of the sun. This occurred just before the annual flooding of the Nile and the summer solstice, after a 70-day absence from the skies. So this was identified with Isis, wife and consort of Orisis, who appeared in the sky as Orion. Together they formed a trinity with their son Horus. A 70-day period symbolized the passing of Isis and Orion through the duet. Note that the pyramids are pointing to Orion and is related to Orion and Sirius, the solstice systems. Band stars of Orion and the Great Pyramid. Sirius, Queen's Chamber, feminine. Pleiades, sister stars, Orion. King's Chamber, Thuban. Thuban was the pole star when the pyramids allegedly were built and the program began. Seamen called it the Dragon's Tail, Italian DNA references. Sothis, Isis, and her husband, the god named Sa, Orion, came to be viewed as manifestations of Isis and Orion. She was not only represented as a woman with a star on top of her headdress, but as a seated cow with a plant between her horns, just as Sihat's hieroglyph might have been a flower or a star, as depicted on an ivory tablet of King Deja. The plants may have been symbolic of the year, and thus linking her to the yearly rising of Sirius and the new year. She was very occasionally depicted as a large dog, or in Roman times, as the goddess Isis Sopdet, she was shown riding side saddled on a large dog. The New Year. Sirius was both the most important star of ancient Egypt astronomy, and one of the decans star groups into which the night sky was divided, with each group appearing for 10 days annually. The Heliacal rising, the first night that Sirius is seen, just before dawn, was noticed every year during July. Early Egyptians used this to mark the start of the new year, the opening of the year. It was celebrated with a festival known as the Coming of Sophist. As early as the first dynasty, Sophist was known as the bringer of the new year and the Nile flood. When Sirius appeared in the sky each year, the Nile generally started to flood and bring fertility to the land. The ancient Egypts are connected to two events, and so they took on the aspects of a goddess of not only the star and of the inundation, but of the fertility that came to the land of Egypt with the flood. The flood and the rising of Sirius also marked the ancient Egyptian New Year, and so she also was thought of as a goddess of the New Year. Her aspect of being a fertility goddess was not just linked to the Nile. By the Middle Kingdom, she was believed to be a mother goddess and a nurse goddess, changing her from a goddess of agriculture to a goddess of motherhood. This probably was due to her strong connection with the mother goddess Isis, not just a goddess of the waters of inundation. So this had another link with water. She was believed to cleanse the pharaoh in the afterlife. It is interesting to note that the embalming of the dead took 70 days, the same amount of time that Sirius was not seen in the sky, before its yearly rising. She was a goddess of fertility to both the living and the dead. In the pyramid texts, she is the goddess who prepares yearly substance for the pharaoh. In this her name of year. She is also thought to be a guide in the afterlife for the pharaoh, letting him fly into the sky to join the gods, showing him goodly roads in the field of reeds, and helping him become one of the imperishable stars. She was thought to be living on the horizon, encircling the duet, paralleling the story of Osiris and Isis. The pharaoh was believed to have had a child with Sophist. Greece. The ancient Greeks observed that the appearance of Sirius heralded the hot and dry summer, and feared that it caused plants to wilt, men to weaken, and women to become aroused. Due to its brightness, Sirius would have been noted to twinkle more in the unsettled weather conditions of early summer. To Greek observers, this signified certain emanations which caused its malignant influence. People suffering its effects were said to be astrobolarister, starstruck. It was described as burning or flaming in literature. The season following the star's appearance came to be known as the dark days of summer. The inhabitants of the island of Sirius in the Aegean Sea would offer sacrifices to Sirius and Zeus to bring cooling breezes, and would await the reappearance of the star in summer. If it rose clear, It would portend good fortune. If it was misty or faint, then it foretold pestilence. Coins retrieved from the island from the 3rd century BC feature dogs or stars with emanating rays, highlighting Sirius' importance. The Romans celebrated the Hellenical settling of Sirius around April 25th, sacrificing a dog, along with incense, wine, and a ship to the goddess Robigo, so that the star's emanations would not cause wheat rust on wheat crops that year. China. In Chinese astronomy, the star is known as the star of the celestial wolf. Several cultures also associated the star with a bow and arrows. The ancient Chinese visualized a bow and arrow across the southern sky, formed by the constellations of Puppis and Canis Major. In this, the arrow tip is pointed at the wolf Sirius. A similar association is depicted at the temple of Hathor, Dendera, where the goddess Setet has drawn her arrow at Hathor. Sirius, known as Tyr, the star, was portrayed as the arrow itself in later Persian culture. Summer. In the Sumerian civilization predating the Egyptians, the epic poem Epic of Gilgamesh describes a dream of Gilgamesh where the hero is drawn irresistibly to a heavy star that cannot be lifted despite immense effort. The star descends from heaven to him and is described as having a very potent essence and being the god of heaven. Gilgamesh had for his companions 50 oarsmen in the great ship Argo, a constellation bordering Canis Major, where Sirius is found. I hope you guys like this video and information. I'll talk to you guys in the part 2 of this video. Bye!